Okay, so it's the 26th of January today. It's very late on January the 26th. I just received an email saying that the government has responded to a petition I signed. It was a petition to, this is the title of it, enable all students to end university tenancy agreements early due to COVID-19. This is something that I strongly believe in, that students shouldn't be forced to pay rent for accommodation that they've been told to not use. And so, the first line of the government's response it's magnificent. Here we go. It says, university and private accommodation providers are autonomous, but the government encourages landlords to be fair and consider students' interest in their decisions about about rent charges and tenancies. That's fine. Which, yes, it's understandable, but there should be some government support there. The second line is very interesting. We understand that this has been a very difficult time for students. Yes, I wonder why. Probably partly because they've changed the policy every 10 minutes as to whether you should go back to school, shouldn't go back to school, learn online, not learn online. Should I support people online? No, we shouldn't give them equipment. Should we feed children in schools? No, we shouldn't. So that's not true. That's just a blatant lie. Which is why we have prioritised their education and well-being from the start of this pandemic. No, they haven't. There's not one part of the policy that has been looking after people's well-being or education. They've been looking after their friends, they've been looking after their pockets, and they've been trying to look after the economy, and evidently failed massively. We're now in the worst recession the country's seen in 200 years or something like that. The government are just now lying to us, blatantly lying to us, saying that they've done the most they can since the beginning. That's not true. Saying that they've always acted in the best interests of the country. That's not true. Boris Johnson didn't attend the first 5 Cobra meetings, and don't give me the bullshit of, oh, well, saying that now is all very well and good. We were saying it at the time. We were saying it like 10 months ago. Not even that, it's almost a year ago. We were saying that a year ago. It's not new thoughts that we've had in the last 3 months. They never took it seriously. They never will take it seriously. They've not from the start. They've just said, wash your hands. Wash your hands and stay away from people. And then their messages are so mixed. Go back to school, don't go back to school. Go to work, don't go to work. Not only has there been an extraordinary lack of leadership, there just seems to be that nobody in the cabinet is speaking to one another. The health secretary, the prime minister, the education secretary, the arts, sport, media and technology, the theatre person. None of them are discussing or talking together, or there's no connectivity between any of it. It's just like a gaggle of blind idiots. And Priti Patel, who's in all of those Home Secretary files as well, and be like, yeah, we know where they are. Oh, do you? Where are they? We don't know. But you just said you knew where they were. It's just... We have to remember this. We have to remember this, because in 4 years, they're going to put their names on pieces of paper and ask you to vote for them. They've let 100,000 people in this country die. 100,000 of our friends and relatives and neighbours and community members die from a disease that, yes, it is highly infectious, but can be managed, can be prevented, can be protected from. It doesn't make sense at all. And so when they say that they did things in your best interest, when they say that they tried their best from the very beginning, don't even for a second think that they did. Because they just didn't. And if you give them that, if you'll forgive them for killing 100,000 people in this country, yes, not directly, they didn't hold a gun to their head, but the nearest damn it gave a gun to the virus that then pulled the trigger. They fostered an environment where that could flourish and where COVID could take all those lives. We're an island. We have control over our borders. Weirdly, the most paradoxical, weird thing is that people voted for Brexit in 2016 for a variety of reasons, one of which being taking back control of our borders and having control over our autonomy. And so then a pandemic comes in when, it'd be really useful to shut your borders to stop loads of people bringing the infection in. Did we? No. Did we test at the airports? No. Are we doing it now? A year afterwards. 365 days afterwards. Are we doing it now? No. There's no quarantine system for people coming into the country. There's no track and trace system. All those billions of pounds that they spent on that doesn't work. Never has worked. Notice how they don't say that now. Because it was another one of their shit plans that just didn't work. So much has been lost over this year. So much. So many lives lost. Friends lost. Holidays lost. Jobs lost. Relationships strained to the point of breaking. Mental health pushed to the brink of existence. Education forced onto devices and home learning. Unemployment. Food not being provided to children. This isn't the country that I thought I was living in. This is some dystopian horror show where, as the group's name perfectly depicts it, we are being led by donkeys. And I cannot forgive them for this. I was never a fan of the Conservatives, but I genuinely look back on Theresa May and think, she was dealt a shit hand, but she worked, and it felt like she was competent, even though she did bring a Brexit deal back like 18 times to the House of Commons and they never voted for it, but it felt like she was working. Feels like Boris Johnson and this government isn't doing a thing. They say a lot. They make a lot of noise. They flap their arms around, but they don't work for us. That's what they're there for. That is their job, is to work for us and to provide for us and to keep us safe and to keep us healthy and to keep us happy. They've not done any of this. I can't forgive them for this. And I won't be able to forgive other people who think that this government is worth voting for in 4 years. I'm not going to be actively out encouraging people to vote Labour because I don't know what their policies are of yet. I don't know what their campaign will look like, but I don't need to know what the Conservative Party manifesto will look like for the next general election. Because as far as I see, it's going to be written with the ink of 100,000 corpses. Leather bound in incompetence and contempt. And I won't stand for it. Things have got to change. Things have got to change. Because politicians have been in it for themselves for far too long, on both sides. On both sides, but the Conservatives have got so much more skin in the game. So many more friends being like, oh, I've got this business that I need some money for. I will not stand for it anymore. I just won't. If that means that I've got to subject myself to politics, then so be it. Because I would not be in it for myself. And I know that some people are at the minute. And it doesn't serve anyone but themselves. Anyone but themselves. I can't be having that, I'm sorry. If you vote Conservative, if you voted Conservative, I should say, this last year, it's not even that was 2019, wasn't it? I've had all of 2020. If you voted for them then, fair enough. You were probably voting for the Brexit, or just because you voted Conservative all the time, or because you hated Corbyn. Some of those I can understand. But moving forward, if you're voting Conservative in the next general election, we're going to have some very, very difficult conversations about how little you must regard human life, because they do. If you're poor or old or sick, you're expendable. That's what they've taught us. That's what they've said. And their policy and their actions of the last year, they've said that if you're poor, if you're sick, if you're old, if you've got underlying health conditions, you are expendable. And I'm sorry, but if you hold human life with that low regard, then I'm seriously concerned for what has led you to that position. Seriously concerned. It's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. I'm tired of this shit. I'm tired of seeing the news as a shit show of pain every day. And yes, there are some good things out there, don't get me wrong, but when there's such a swathe of negativity and failure, I can't look at the positives of, oh, we've put some trees back, deforestation slowed down. Great. That's great. But that's not even a positive. It's a positive from a negative, but it's still a negative because to frame that a different way, we're still doing deforestation. Yeah, this is for me. Again, I started one at the beginning of the year and this is 3 weeks in. This is what I think. Let's see how long it is before he resigns. Hopefully it's soon. Or if they dissolve Parliament, that'd be good. An early general election after COVID's done, whenever the fuck that will be. Right, I need to go to bed because I've got work to do tomorrow. Don't forget, 100,000 people, they can't remember it, so we have to remember it for them. That's the least we can do. Do not forget this.